Carter Hawkins, the Cubs GM, is now out from the Washington Nationals general manager search, but that just means that the Washington Nationals could be zeroing in on their next GM.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I'm Ryan Clary, your Nationals insider for the Locked On Nationals podcast, where it is your team every single day. And later on in today's program, we'll have a Nats Braves preview as the Nationals, well, they try to avoid the sweep against the Atlanta Braves. We'll have that discussion later on in the show today, but also I have a couple of names and one big one that you're going to want to keep your eye on for the next week and a half or so. We'll have that discussion for you later on in the program today. And at this point, what is Jake Irvin to you? Yesterday, the fourth inning, he did not survive, unfortunately. And right now, there's some real kind of discussions that we have to have about Irvin. So we'll have those in the second segment of today's program. But we start off discussing the Nationals GM search. And my gut feel is that they are zeroing in on a GM hire. I'll tell you all about that. But today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So it feels as if the Nationals are zeroing in on a GM hire for this team. But let's start off the big news of today, because quite frankly, the biggest name that the Nationals were publicly going after at this point was Chicago Cubs GM Carter Hawkins. And yesterday, Grant Paulson of 106.7 The Fan reported that Carter Hawkins is no longer in contention to be the Washington Nationals' next GM. And quite frankly, first and foremost, before we kind of jump into it, this feels as if that the Nationals were kind of the ones maybe saying, hey, we're going to go another direction. Now, this very much so could be Carter Hawkins saying, you know what, I'm going to stay here with the Chicago Cubs. But here's the thing with that in mind. That is Jed Hoyer's show. When you work under someone of a Jed Hoyer type, or even a Mike Rizzo back in the day, some made men as GMs in baseball, you always kind of want to go and do your own thing. You could always work under that guy, but then again, you're never going to get the credit. You're going to be the guy who they will dunk and throw under the bus as soon as they can. So for me, in my opinion, I feel as if Carter Hawkins would kind of want to run his own show. So first and foremost, whichever the reports out there are, I feel as if the Nationals were probably the ones saying, hey, we're going to go in a different direction. So let's go in that different direction for the Washington Nationals. Because the other day, Andrew Golden of the Washington Post did report that the Nationals have interviewed another executive who could be on a long list of candidates for the next Nationals GM. And that is the executive vice president of the Cleveland Guardians, Matt Foreman. Now, before we jump into Matt Foreman here, I want everybody to know that the Nationals are going in the correct direction for really what they should be. And again, that direction is analytics. Matt Foreman, coming from the Cleveland Guardians organization, the assistant general manager, the executive vice president, the guy who's been making a ton of directions and a ton of decisions for them over the past few seasons, he has interviewed for the vacancy of the next Nationals GM job. I will be the first one on the scene to say this. Give me anyone from the Cleveland Guardians. Number one, the Cleveland Guardians have been great at developing prospects over the years. In this season in particular, the Nationals are going to be going after someone who has a completely new sense of direction, which is our biggest need at this point in time. The Nationals need a new analytics guy in the building. They need someone to come in, be the top decision maker, and really drive this new wave of analytics coming into baseball. You need to have someone that is willing to go against the learners and say, listen, we needed to invest in this area. We need to invest in our R&D department. We need to invest in this new shiny toy at Nationals Park. We need to get things done. That starts with an analytical voice in this building. Now, should not come from someone who, in my opinion, should just be a pushover kind of guy. I want someone who is young. I want someone who is hungry. I want someone who is going to actually make an impact for this team moving forward. And it starts, with my opinion, with analytics. Getting someone from a very heavy analytical savvy organization like the Guardians, and one of their top decision makers, I might add, with, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name, Matt Foreman right now, that would be the biggest slam dunk in my opinion. It's not going to be the sexy hire. It's not going to be pulling a Jed Hoyer away from the Cubs. It's not going to be pulling away a top decision maker from the Dodgers. But this should not go unnoticed. This is a clear path forward to the Nationals getting that new direction in-house. And getting that new direction, again, is with the analytics. Working with the Cleveland Guardians and really overseeing their scouting operations over the years, they have been able to develop all sorts of talents and make all sorts of trades that have ultimately helped this team kind of stay afloat. The Cleveland Guardians have not been a bad team for really over the past decade. They have been a very well-run team. They seem to have a chance every single season. And by the way, with that in mind, they're not picking at the top of the draft class every single year. They lucked in the number one pick a few years ago. They still have found ways to develop talent in-house. They have still found ways to have top 10 farm systems in baseball year after year after year. That's the way that the Nationals have to operate moving forward. And honestly, I see it happening in a ton of different ways for this team. There is one thing that is in common with Carter Hawkins, with guys like Carter Hawkins, and of course, the man we were just talking about with the Guardians, Matt Foreman. A lot of things that are in common here. It's analytics. That is the one driving factor for the Nationals at this point. So as we sit here today with Mike DeBartolo as the interim GM, I feel confident in the Nationals having that new sense of direction that they so desperately need on the baseball side of things. And I feel as if that they finally understand what they have to do, and that is go with a new direction. The Nationals may or may not hire a new GM in the next few days here. But quite frankly, with Carter Hawkins having his name pulled out of the search, whether by the Nationals or himself, this feels as if that they are honing in on someone new. And this feels as if that right now, if I were to sit here today, it's probably going to be Matt Foreman as your next Nationals GM. That's kind of exciting if you ask me. I'm excited for the Nationals. And again, it feels as if that we are getting closer and closer to what could be your next Nationals GM hire. And it's going to be something that I think a lot of people will be excited for. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And next, I have a name that I want you to watch out for, because quite frankly, I would not be surprised if the Nationals try to pluck one of the top decision makers in all of baseball. We'll talk about that and much more after this. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. And you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. And I've been playing PrizePicks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the football season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. And I love checking projections like Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards on Thursday night against the Dolphins, or maybe Saquon Barkley for more than 1 rushing touchdown this weekend. And this week's max discount includes Patrick Mahomes over and a half on a half passing yard. get in with our friends at PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you place your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's so good to be right. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, we were just talking about what name would I not be surprised about it. The Nationals tried to pluck this man away. That is the Rays president of baseball operations, Erik Neander. Now, for those out there who may kind of wonder, like, why would we do that? Well, number one, this is a local guy. This is someone who has been with the Tampa Bay Rays since an intern back in 2007. He was someone who attended Virginia Tech. He is actually from and born in Silver Spring, Maryland here. So again, a DMV guy who has been with the Tampa Bay Rays since the middle of the 2000s and has helped them make a World Series run once or twice, and has again climbed the ranks to be one of the top executives in all of baseball. I want Nationals fans to keep their eye on this because there have been no rumors yet, and I haven't heard any speculation surrounding this, but do not be surprised if Erik Neander were to take an interview with the Washington Nationals, and here's why. The Tampa Bay Rays are in complete limbo. They do not know what the future is with Tropicana Field. That's number one. Number two, they don't know what the future of the ownership is also. Now, you could be saying the same thing about the Nationals with their ownership. You're right. But the ceiling of which the Nationals could spend with this ownership compared to what the Rays could spend with their ownership, it's a night and day difference. And again, it's potential. The potential is there for the Nationals to actually go all in and have a top 15 payroll. The Rays simply cannot do that. And by the way, try luring a superstar into Tampa Bay when you're playing outside in Tampa, number one, but number two, in a minor league ballpark. And then when you're not playing in a minor league ballpark, try to lure them away to go to the Trop, where it is a former hockey arena turned to a baseball stadium. It doesn't work. The Rays have still been a great organization for years and years and years. They are the new Moneyball kind of deal nowadays. We talk about the Oakland A's from back in the day. The Rays have perfected this craft at this point. They have turned guys who might be you know what from an organization, chicken you know what, and they have turned it into chicken salad with the Tampa Bay Rays. Randy Arozarena. They have gotten guys like, name them in the past. They have turned out prospects left and right. No problem from this organization. This would be the biggest hire for the Washington Nationals, in my opinion. And quite frankly, if Erik Neander were to go to any other organization in baseball, that would be a shocking development of a team and just complete change of everything for where the Nationals are. So if Erik Neander, after again signing an extension back in 2024, actually with the Rays, if they were to lure him away and give him all the money, that would be such a slam dunk for this team. And again, I'm not necessarily expecting it, but I do want to be on the record of this. Watch out for that move and watch out for what could happen moving forward with Erik Neander, because if he does decide to jump ship, I would not be surprised if the Nationals pounce and try to give him all the money in the world and try to make him your next president of baseball operations right here in the nation's capital. So keep an eye out for Erik Neander, but let's get back into baseball here because Jake Irvin, yesterday's game, let's have a discussion about Jake Irvin. I'm not going to lie. I think it is time to have a real discussion about what Irvin is. Jake Irvin is no longer that, man, this guy should have been an all-star. The discussion surrounding Jake Irvin is he going to be in the starting rotation next year? Right now, he is filling that Patrick Corbin role of just, you are going out there and you're just like, listen, man, get to 5 innings. Get through 5 innings. Help save this bullpen a little bit. And if you give up less than 4 earned runs, Job well done. But the expectations for what Irvin was supposed to be this season is completely different than what the story has been. Do you guys remember last year in the first half of the season where he was lights out? He had a sub-3 ERA. Going into that July 4th start in 2024, he went 8 innings pitched, shutout against the New York Mets, and was unbelievable. Since that, the second half of last year, after that July 4th start, he had a 6.5 ERA in 15 starts to end the season. This year, he leads Major League Baseball in games started with 31, and he has a 5.76 ERA, but catch this out. He has not only allowed the most earned runs in all of baseball, but he has also allowed the most home runs in baseball at this point. He is nearly averaging 10 hits per 9 innings and also nearly 2 home runs per 9 innings. What has gone wrong with someone who should have been an all-star in 2024? Legitimately should have been an all-star. The conversation surrounding Jake Irvin, in my opinion, is gone. Jake Irvin at this point is unfortunately an innings eater pitcher for you. This is someone that, again, might be a 5-starter on a okay team. But the numbers surrounding him and what he has given up and the drop in velo for his fastball and his curveball as well makes you kind of rethink things of where he is in his development. This has completely blown up in our face, unfortunately. And this is, again, not on Jake Irvin, but I do believe the exit or the velocity drop has probably a lot to do with this. Dropping 2 miles per hour on his fastball and as well as his curveball plays a big deal, in my opinion. Going from 94 to 92, for me, is a big deal. Some people may look at that and say, well, it's only 2 miles per hour. But when you're a major league hitter consistently seeing mid-90s, upper 90s, that adjustment from 94 to 92 is a pretty big deal. You now, instead of having to really kind of not think about that fastball coming in, you can sit curveball and see that 92 mile per hour fastball and still turn around on it. There is no fooling anybody now with Jake Irvin. It doesn't matter what his curveball looks like. It doesn't matter how disgusting it is. When you have your velocity down to 92 miles per hour, and by the way, his stuff is just not that great right now, you're going to struggle. You're going to have those Patrick Corbin outings where you're going 4 innings and you get up 6 earned runs. You're going to have those outings when you only make it 2 innings and you go up 7 earned runs over 2 innings. That is what we are seeing right now. And at this point, can you say that Jake Irvin will confidently have a rotation spot next season? You cannot confidently say that at this point. I can bet that Jake Irvin will have a starting rotation spot because, quite frankly, who's going to be pushing him at this point? Trevor Williams? Maybe. But even then, that's kind of the same outcome. Is there anyone down in the minor leagues? Jake Bennett has looked good. He's going to the Arizona Fall League. I expect him to do some good things next season, but he's not going to make it on opening day. He's not going to make that jump into the starting rotation at this point. The struggles of Jake Irvin are not only real, but the reason why he will not be in the rotation past next season, in my opinion, unless things drastically change. He's got to work on the velocity. He has to get that back up in the mid-90s. He's got to figure out a way for batters to stop tattooing his curveball every single time it's anywhere near the zone. Because the difference is between the beginning of last season going into this season, it's just been insane to me. The fall off of production of someone who was once considered to be a top talent on this team. You no longer have that with Jake Irvin. And again, some of it is not his fault. I think the fastball velocity drop is a real thing, and that's something that he's going to have to work on. But also, you have some pretty poor catchers at this point defensively. You're going to want to have that fix up as well eventually. So Jake Irvin, in my humbled opinion, will not be in the Nationals rotation moving forward. And in fact, will probably not be in the future equation of this Nationals team moving forward. We have gotten to that point of Jake Irvin's tenure here. It has not been a pretty season for him. Really, no stretches at all where he has been dominant or even showing glimpses of what he could be down the road. This just feels as if that this is what he is. Unfortunately, not a starting pitcher in today's game. That's just the reality of situations here in Washington, D.C. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So let's do this. Let's talk about the Nationals going up against the Braves tonight. You have got a pretty solid pitching matchup tonight that we'll get into after this. And yes, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they are worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or even investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that is why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or even your phone. And Monarch is built for people with busy lives. And if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, and you can link all your accounts in minutes and see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money and without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought, and Monarch helps you notice the inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks, and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. And now let me tell you about our friends at Gametime. There is nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it, and that is why I use Gametime. The app gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price that you pay. And the app is made super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before buying, and fees are included. So know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. My favorite thing to do is walking up to Nationals game. I open up my Gametime app. I see those flash zone deals. I see the view from my seat on my phone, and then I buy those tickets. Then I walk into Nationals Park. It's that easy. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And we have got a Hurston Waldrop Brad Lord production today for the Washington Nationals, a 4:05 first pitch. The Washington Nationals tried to avoid the sweep, but one thing that we have not done on the show is really kind of get into the wild card race of this team. The Nationals really have no important games the rest of the way. I mean, they play the Braves, they play, again, the White Sox. I mean, they're not really playing any serious contenders at this point in time. So I guess at this point, you will not really be seeing kind of what the Nationals will be doing going forward. But this weekend, again, like, you have got a semi-decent series, I guess, with the Nationals going up against the New York Mets, but they should be in the playoffs at this point. They only have a couple more games left. But right now, the National League is probably the tightest one, if I had to say, as far as their wild card group goes. And if you look at it, the Arizona Diamondbacks have won 4 straight games. They are now 1.5 games back from the New York Mets. So if you want to see a little glimpse of postseason baseball, and you guys know how important that is for me this weekend, that is going to be the Washington Nationals going up against the New York Mets. If the Nationals can find a way to take 2 of 3 against the New York Mets, the Mets might be looking at not making the playoffs. And how great would that be if you could be the team to kick out the New York Mets from postseason contention? That would be simply incredible. And on Friday, you've got Brandon Sproat going up against the Washington Nationals. And then Saturday's game against New York Mets, you have got their new rookie sensation, Nolan McLean, who has been really good with them so far. Definitely has helped them out. And then Sunday, we just checked this now. It is still TBD. But man, you've got some postseason baseball kind of for the Washington Nationals this weekend. You're going up against some really tough pitchers with Brandon Sproat and then Nolan McLean. But all eyes will be on that New York Mets series as Nationals will have an opportunity to knock one of their enemies out of the playoffs. So that will be a fun series to watch. And then, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks as well this weekend. All eyes will be on the Nationals with Arizona fans. And fortunately for them, we've got you covered. We'll talk about all of that and more on tomorrow's show, though. Stay tuned to Locked On Nationals. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.